Hey guys, it's me again, and today I'd like to talk about something a little different. Normally, I'd be talking about the rapture, and I guess in a way, this is sort of tied to the rapture. Well, not really, but maybe. It depends on how you look at it. But I guess what I'd like to talk about today is there sex in heaven? I'm not talking about gender, I'm talking about are people going to be having sex in heaven? And I know this is kind of like a weird topic or almost a controversial topic, and this really meant for believers. I know non-believers have all sorts of perverse ideas of the afterlife and the kind of sex people will be having there. No, I'm not going to get into that. But specifically, is there going to be sex in heaven? And I know a lot of Christians have very strong opinions on this, and I think the popular opinion is that there won't be. Okay, and before I get going, I want to say that this is just an opinion, my personal opinion, and I don't care if I'm right or wrong. I'm not being dogmatic about this. It's just something that I'm sure all of us have thought about at some point. A lot of people, a lot of Christians will say that there's not going to be any sex in heaven, and they're going to quote Jesus on that one passage. Sorry if I butcher it, but where Jesus was saying that people will not be given in marriage in heaven, they're going to be like the angels. And based on that, people are going to argue that, see, Jesus said that there's not going to be any marriage in heaven. There's not going to be any sex. Okay? Now, before I get going, I also want to remind people of that one passage in the Bible where Jesus talks about John the Beloved. And Jesus said something like, if he doesn't die till any of these things happen, what is it to you? And I know I'm totally butchering that passage, but basically, that passage, Jesus said something that led others to believe who were listening that John might not ever die. And, John specifically said that Jesus did not really say that. He just said that what if? He doesn't die or whatever. But Jesus didn't explicitly say that John wasn't going to die. Now, I'm using that same principle when it comes to sex, okay? Jesus did not say there wasn't going to be any. All he said was that people were not going to be given in marriage, and they're going to be like the angels, okay? But what do we know about angels? We know that fallen angels came down to earth and, mated with humans. We know that, from the Old Testament. So they do have the capability of having sex. That we know. But I think what people are getting hung up on is the fact that Jesus said that we're not going to be given in marriage, in heaven. But that doesn't necessarily mean there won't be any sex. And I mean this in a pure sense, okay? I believe that we do not have to be given in marriage, at least not in the same way that we're given in marriage here on earth, okay? It's going to be different. It's going to be pure. And no, it's not going to be an orgy in heaven where we get to just have sex with everyone. But my personal opinion is, yes, there will be sex in heaven. And I believe it's going to be pure. And who's that going to be with? Is it going to be your spouse on earth? What if you've had more than one? What if you got divorced? I mean, who knows, right? But I think it's going to be with whomever God, chooses for you, and whoever that is, not whatever, whoever, it's going to be perfect, and it's going to be pure, and it's going to be glorifying to Him, and it's going to be like literally just out of this world, the best sex any of us will ever have. Okay, and I don't mean this in a perverse way at all. But why do I say that? Well, because people are going to argue that there's no need to procreate in heaven. Okay, but then why do we eat? I'm not saying we're going to procreate, but just think about it. Why do we have feasts in heaven? Do we need that to stay alive? Do we need that for sustenance? Or is it just for pleasure? And yet we know for sure that we are going to be eating in heaven. But what for? Now, the same thing applies to sex. I mean, it's just, to be honest, one of the most pleasurable activities that humans can partake in this world. Now, just think about this for a second. There are two things that perpetuate life on earth, okay? Food and sex, okay? Now, why would we have supper in heaven? Why would we continue to eat in heaven and just forget the notion of sex, okay? Those are two things. Why would Jesus just single out sex and just, forget it. You're never gonna have sex ever again. But you know what? Guess what? We still get to eat and have great meals in heaven. Okay, so it's not for procreating. It's gonna be for pleasure, and it's gonna be pure. It's not gonna be perverse. It's not gonna be disgusting or anything like that. And again, it's just my personal opinion. Why do we eat when we don't need to? When we're never gonna die, it's just for pleasure. And I don't think God created this type of intimacy just so He can do away with it when we get to eternity. I think we're gonna get something that, or it's just gonna blow our minds, and I think whatever that is, however that plays out, it's still gonna be, it's still gonna pale in comparison to the glory of just being with Jesus. Seeing Him face to face. I mean, I know it's awesome to think that, yeah, we're gonna have sex in heaven, but the reality is, no matter how great that might sound to you, it's still gonna be all about Jesus. And it's just gonna be one of those little things that's, because He loves us, and He's gonna prepare it for us. And that's just my personal opinion. And yeah, so yeah, just my opinion. I'm not gonna be very dogmatic about it. But yeah, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And my next video should be about the rapture, and hopefully the rapture just happens before I even get to there. Get saved now.